Hello and welcome to this quick guide on how to make the portals work for your hub in Crayta. So the portal in your hub or portals in your hub will essentially transport the player to some other game in Crayta, completely leaving your game and loading in a completely new game. And this can be a game that you've made, or it could be a game that you really like, or, one that you just, like the look of or whatever. And so in order to teleport players to other games in Crayta, we need to do a little bit of scripting. And so we're going to do that in this quick guide. Firstly, make sure that you have a portal of some kind. And for this to work, your hub will need to be published for you to test it properly and for it to work properly. You won't be able to fully test it in the edit mode because it won't let you just zoom out to another game. And that's a good thing. But we can test it as close as possible. In order to get this hub working, the first thing that I've done is I've added this teleport script to the hub. There is a pretty simple script. There's two functions. One is called getInteractPrompt. This is because I've used the prompt package, and I do recommend that you use the prompt package to make sure that or prompt the user in some way to tell them that when they interact with your portal, they are going to be sent somewhere else. And it's a really good idea to get as much information to your user as possible about where they're going to be traveling before they commit to actually doing that. So in order to use the prompts widget, you can search for prompts and make sure that Crayta packages is checked, and you should find the Crayta prompts package. Once you've found that, if you head over to your user template, you can attach the user prompts view. Click on the user, go entity, create child script folder, and you're looking for the user prompts view, which came in with the prompts template, prompts community, prompts package, sorry. So now that that's been done, how do we customize exactly what the prompt will say? So if we're looking at this portal, I have created a property called prompt message, and notice that the type of the property is a text. It's not a string. It's a text because this is going to be updated on the UI to display to the user. So we've got prompt message, and the cool thing about the prompts script, which is now attached to the user, is it will automatically look at whatever the player is currently able to interact with and ask that thing, hey, is there a specific prompt you want to display to the user? And it does this by calling getInteractPrompt on whatever script it can find that might have this thing. And so we can hook into that, and that's what this is doing here. This getInteractPrompt is called by the prompt script, which is attached to the user. It passes in a prompt object, and essentially we do .interact because that is the method that or the thing that the user is going to do here. And we can send back a formatted text variable. So I'm sending back this property with format at the end. This means that when I write travel to stop the furnace as the thing that should display to the user on the onInteract method, if I test this out, just go in and press F5 to test this. Let's run over to the portal. And when I'm able to interact with this, you can see that in the bottom right corner it says press E to travel to stop the furnace. And that E will change out for whatever the binding is on the controller the player is currently using, because I'm using the keyboard and mine's mapped to the standard mapping. That says E, but if I decided that interact should be space, then it would say press space to travel to stop the furnace. So it's a really handy package to get to grips with and to use there. The other function in my demo teleport script actually teleports the player, and it's a single line of code. It does this, it's written here, it's this player. So we need to get hold of the user that we want to teleport, and we can do that through the player. So when the player interacts with the portal, I hook into this event here on interact, and that's where I'm calling this teleport function. So this is called when the player interacts, and I can get hold of the user that's controlling the player. Remember, the player is the character that's running around in Crayta, and the user is the person controlling them. And on the user, I run the function go to game, supplying a game ID. You can see the game ID is here. Now, if you're not sure what the game ID is for the game you want, you can head over to create.crayta.com in any browser, head over to the Play tab, and then find the game that you want to send someone to. I'm going to send them to Furnace. How many games are there with Furnace in the title? Okay, so the game I want to send them to is this Stop the Furnace. To get the game ID, I go to the game card here, and I just copy this section of the URL just after the games slash part. So I'm going to copy that, add it to the clipboard, Control C or right click and copy. Now let's go back into Crayta and we just paste it into the game ID down there. I'm using that game ID here within the brackets of go to game self.properties.gameid to get hold of it. So let's see if we can actually test that. So run over to the portal. And when I can interact with it, that message is displayed. I interact with it, nothing will happen. But if I open the console, I can see this line appear, sending user to game. And you can see every time I interact with it, it will essentially send the user. And this is a way of basically saying that works, and it's going to send the player there once you've published the game. Now that's all well and good and quite adequate to just use the go to game. But you can liven things up with a few effects and a couple of sounds and maybe turning down the volume of some music in your game and essentially set the player to invisible. So the way I've done that one, if I go and have a look at that script, this is my teleport script and I've used the schedule to do a bunch of timing and play different effects and things. So play a warm-up effect and a warm-up sound, then wait while that's playing, then make the player invisible, play some kind of it's happened effects and sounds, and then wait a second so that the user can kind of see that the player's disappeared and then return the game to the state that it was in before and also send the user to that new game. So you wait until all of the effects and sounds have happened, your player's disappeared, and then send the user on their way to the other game. And that's it. That's the end of the quick guide. I hope that was useful and I look forward to seeing your portals in Crayta.